If you have ever been diagnosed with a skin cancer, you know how it can feel overwhelming. You hear that word cancer, and all of a sudden your mind goes in 1,000 different directions, and you're wondering about your mortality. Are you going to live to see next year? Or how's it going to be treated? Are you going to look different or still look like yourself? There are so many questions that run through your head when you're diagnosed with a skin cancer. And unfortunately, there are not a lot of resources for people struggling with skin cancer, which is our most common form of cancer, more than all the other cancers combined. I'm Dr. Mina. I'm a board-certified dermatologist, and welcome to my channel, The Skin Real, where I give real people real skin education and guidance so that they can make informed decisions about their skin health. This is my weekly recap episode from an interview I just did with Dr. Emily Ruiz. She is a board-certified dermatologist and Mohs surgeon. In this video, I'm going to go through my key takeaways from my recent episode, but if you want to hear the full episode, be sure to stick around to the end of this video. So let's break down my key takeaways from this episode. I love talking to another Mohs surgeon because I do a lot of skin cancer surgery, and I see a lot of repeat customers, people coming back, and I can see how it affects people day in and day out. Now, for some people, a small skin cancer on their shin or on their arm is no big deal, especially if they've had a lot of them. And we sometimes kind of laugh that this is just their biannual visit to see me to get them treated. But for other people, it can be really disheartening and discouraging, especially when they have to come in time and time again. They feel like they're being cut on all the time, and they're wondering, is there another way and what can be done? And I feel their frustration, and it's why I am really on a mission to spread the importance of sun protection early. The sooner, the better. I mean, if you can start this in your kids and get them to practice sun-safe measures as a young adult, it will be so impactful down the road for them. The problem I see with a lot of my patients who are getting skin cancers is that they're in their 60s, 70s, 80s plus, and they will talk about how there just wasn't an importance on sun protection when they were growing up. And in fact, sometimes they were told the sun was good for them and to go outside and play all day, and there were no hats recommended, no rash guards, and no sunscreen. And unfortunately, they're paying the price for it now with a lot of sun damage. And squamous cells now cause more skin cancer-related deaths than melanomas. And part of the reason for this is that there are simply just so many more squamous cell carcinomas being diagnosed than melanomas. And as people are living longer, we have more cumulative years of sun damage. And also people are living longer with chronic conditions or transplants, things that make them immunosuppressed. Our immune system is so important in helping us fight off some of these skin cancers. I do think we will continue to see an increase in skin cancers until we can really tackle sun protection, and earlier and the sooner, the better. So that is why I'm always on my soapbox about that, because your skin really will thank you when you're in your 50s, 60s, 70s, etc., if you can minimize that chronic sun damage. But say you've just gotten a diagnosis of a skin cancer, maybe a basal cell carcinoma or a squamous cell carcinoma. I know that if it's your first one, hearing the word cancer can be really, really scary. And all these thoughts start to race through your mind, and you're wondering, am I going to die? Am I going to be okay? Do I need to have chemotherapy? How is this going to affect my life? For the overwhelming majority of people diagnosed with the skin cancer, the great news is that we can treat these in a number of different ways, depending on the type of skin cancer, whether it's superficial or what kind of pattern we see under the microscope. A lot of times that does involve surgery, but the great news is that with things like Mohs surgery, we can take tiny little margins and we can reconstruct these really, really well so that your scar is very hard to see. And for most people, they are not bothered by it down the road once the cancer is gone. And so the cosmetic outcome can be really, really good for these patients. Now, then there's the other side of the spectrum, and there are some skin cancers that do not behave as well, and they are more aggressive. And unfortunately, with non-melanoma skin cancers like basal cell and squamous cell, we are not as far along as we are with melanomas, where we have really well-studied, fine-tuned staging system. We have a lot of prognostic tests that can be helpful, and we have powerful drugs now that can actually help prevent metastasis and prolong life, which we didn't even have back when I was in residency, which is really hard to believe. And so I'm hopeful that we will get there with our non-melanoma skin cancers, but we certainly are about 15, 20 years behind melanoma in that regard. And for some patients, there can be some really serious outcomes from skin cancer, whether it's just very destructive and destroys everything around it. And if that's on your nose or your ear or your eye, you can imagine how that's going to be pretty gruesome. Or in rare occasions, it can spread to lymph nodes and actually beyond. If you have a diagnosis of skin cancer and you are wondering, where can I go? There are communities on Facebook and forums like that. My only issue with that, I think there's some really good ones, but typically they're not monitored by dermatologists or clinicians with experience in treating skin cancer. So you have to take what you find on those websites and be a little bit critical about the information and the source and where it's coming from. It hasn't really been vetted. And that's why I love that Dr. Ruiz has created this community called Skin Cancer Champions. And I will include the link in the show notes for that. It's a community for people diagnosed with skin cancer, and you do have to register. It is completely free. But the reason why you register is you are going to tell what type of skin cancer that you have and if it's been treated before or how it's been treated. And they're going to put you into little pods or little groups with people who have had similar experiences to you so that you can be communicating with people who have kind of been there, done that, who know what you're going through and can also foster communication. And because, again, not every skin cancer is created equal, a basal cell on your thigh is going to be very different than a squamous cell on your ear. The other thing I love about this community is that there are clinicians on it like myself and Dr. Ruiz who can help give valuable information. And there is up-to-date content being put out for the public all the time on this site. And you know that it is well researched and vetted and from reputable journals to be on their site. And so you can rest assured that the information you're getting on there is factual and true. We really need a community like this for our patients with non-melanoma skin cancers. And that includes things like basal cells and squamous cells, but also some more rare skin cancers like extramammary Paget's disease or sebaceous carcinoma or Merkel cell carcinoma, because these conditions do happen. We do see patients, and sometimes they're kind of orphan skin cancers. They don't really have a place to go, and they're kind of all lumped together. So I love that they are sort of parsing this out where people can find their niche, find their community, and get answers to the questions that they have about their specific skin cancer. Because, well, a lot of people know about melanoma, and melanoma has many support groups and websites, and I love that, and it's wonderful, and it's so important. I also don't want my patients who have non-melanoma skin cancers to be left out because they also need that camaraderie, that community and support as well. If you would like to hear the full episode with Dr. Ruiz, be sure to click this link right here, and I will see you next week.